Hey, what's up, snappers? Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about some of the tips and techniques, as well as maybe some hidden things you didn't quite know about Marvel Snap when you finished the tutorial. So we're going to jump into a game here. One of the main things I think that's missed a lot within the initial tutorial for the game is initiative. Initiative is sort of a key component to the game, especially as you get more advanced cards and you start playing with bigger and a more wide range of, effects and things. And so you'll notice on the top here that my opponent is a highlighted item around his name. Now what that means, and it won't matter much at the early part of the game, is that his cards are going to turn over first, okay? So you'll see his card turns over, and then you'll see my card turns over. Now moving forward, if we would have tied, then we would have switched. I would have had initiative. In this case, he has more power than me on this lane, and that means he's going to continue to have initiative. If we both pass on turn one, it's random, I think is how it ends up being. So the thing to keep in mind here is if he had a card, say, that destroyed all the one-cost cards, if he has initiative and he plays his card, it comes out and kills all the one-cost cards, and then my card would turn over after. So it's something to keep in mind as you play, that if you were to have initiative in that case, your one-cost card would turn over, and if you think he has that card and he plays it, it's going to kill your card. You may decide not to play that card that turn, okay? So the object of the game is to win 2 of the 3 locations. One thing that can happen is you can actually tie a location, and in that case, whoever has the most power between the other 2 locations will win. So in this case, say we had a bunch of cards here and we were both tied, it would mean I would win this game because I have 2 more points than he does. This comes up a lot, actually, surprisingly amount of times. But it's something, you know, as you play the game, you'll see and you'll want to keep into account. If you think you can tie a lane, or maybe you're already tied a lane, you don't think there's a way that's going to change, you can maybe focus on your larger lane and push really hard to try to get a bigger gap there. Oh, he's going to snap on me. He's very aggressive, I guess. We're tied here. So again, we're tied here. Right now, he would win because he's got 1 extra point than me. In this case, I don't think he's going to scare me away just yet. We'll go ahead and play 2 cards here, and maybe we'll put a card here to leave a little spot here for some flexibility. Jessica will get bigger because I didn't play a card there. This is my alt account, by the way, so I just wanted to show you kind of gameplay at the cards you'll be playing with when you first start, at least. There we go. There's Nightcrawler. All right, so we got the buff from Ant-Man. So now we can see here we've won this lane. So we have nothing to worry about there, and then we've got Iron Man. We'll finish it off. And I think we'll take a couple cubes from him. There we go. So in terms of cubes, you can always withdraw. That's something to keep in mind. There's no shame in withdrawing. It's a lot like poker. Sometimes you want to snap when you think you had advantage. He thought he had the advantage earlier. We could have honestly snapped back. It's sort of like somebody would have bet into you in poker, and then you feel like, oh, I've gotten the card I need. We could have snapped back at them and maybe taken more cards. That's part of strategy, but there is no shame in retreating. I do think that there's a second button, though, that you may not pay attention to, and it's important as you play the game to pay attention to it. There's a retreat button on the left, and then I think it's retreat later. We'll just go ahead and take the L on this one, and we'll see. So there's the retreat later button. It's a good idea to get in a very good habit of clicking this, because what happens is if your opponent doesn't think they can win, and they retreat, and you both retreat, then no one loses any cubes. So it'll save you some cubes as you play the game. It's not something that's inherently, like, I think people tend to just hit the retreat button and move back. But again, it's a good habit to get into to try to get that extra, try to save yourself a cube here now, right? All right, so here we are in another game which has an interesting couple of things that we want to take into account when we're playing Marvel Snap. The first is play order, okay? I have this card, Wolfsbane. It says on reveal +2 for each card here. So if I play this card first, I'll get 2 cards +2 for each. But if I played another card here and then I played Wolfsbane, I would actually get an additional +2 because this card will be revealed first. So play order is often very important within Marvel Snap. Another thing that may not be apparent to people is this vault says it's not going to have you're not going to be able to play cards here on turn 6. And so what that means is while we have to play on this area this turn, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and play Iron Man here. No, actually, we'll do something a little bit more cheeky. We probably won't win this game, but we'll go ahead and do our order. We'll play Quicksilver, and you'll see Wolfsbane will get the extra thing for that, but we'll also get the buff from Ant-Man. Now, this vault says it's going to close on turn 6, and cards can't be played here. But we can do is we can say, on reveal, add a 7-power tiger to another location. So since we're adding and not playing a card there, okay, we're in a spot now where we're in a tie. So this is very interesting, right? No one else can play cards here. he can't play cards here. So the question is, if I play White Tiger here, it's going to add a 7 value Tiger Spirit here, or 7 power, which will take us to 13. Him getting 13 and then an additional 1 for my 14 here, 14 cost card here is very unlikely. So watch what happens. I'll play this White Tiger. The White Tiger will generate, her token, her Tiger Spirit in the middle, and hopefully we'll have enough power there where we'll win the game. Oh, we may not actually. Namor gives an additional +5. So let's see what happens. So he's got wins by 9 here. I win by 11 here. So this is a great example of what we were talking about, earlier in the video, where we tied this lane. As you can see, it just happens sometimes where you get in these situations where a tie comes down to 1 card. So that's something to keep in mind as you play the game. Ties are important. They come up a lot, and you got to keep those things in mind. And again, the vault, he couldn't play anything there. We took advantage of that with our White Tiger by building more power here where he couldn't. Made it really hard for him to come up with a final card there, and that's what pulls to the victory in this particular case. So fun game, and that's what Marvel Snap's all about, right? It's all about finding another avenue or something unexpected that the other player doesn't take into account, and that lets you kind of take it to the next level. Okay, we're back on my main account here, so this has a little bit more stuff we can show off in terms of like building up your set and things like that. So one of the biggest questions I've seen is like, can I get every card in this game without spending money? And I think the answer to that, at least as it stands at release, is yes. You can play the game, just do your dailies and do your missions and all of that, and you will work your way up this collection level ladder. They call it the collection level, and you'll open things. So let's talk about the collection level, how you get new cards. They talk about it a bit in the intro, but it's maybe not as apparent, and there's a little bit of a tip I can give you there to maybe get you a few bumps at least early in the game up the ladder, depending on how many credits and how many upgrades you're pulling. So collection level, as you level up, you'll open these things called collector's reserves. There's a different type of reserve, I think pre-level 1000, that you'll also open up, and these can contain cards or currency or boosters. Just depends on what you get. There's a chart out there. I'll put that in the link down below that shows you what the odds are of each one, but you can also unlock cards along the way. So the way you unlock cards, or how you increase your collection level, and again, I just recently played through this again on my alt account, and this is probably one of the things they don't explain the best as far as how the game works, but basically you get collection level by upgrading cards, and maybe they do explain it well enough and I'm just not paying close enough attention. I'm going to pick a gray card, and one thing to keep in mind, grays give you the most bang for the buck in terms of getting up to collection level. When you click this card here, you'll be able to upgrade it, and it will tell you you'll gain 1 collection level, and it will cost you 25 credits. So let's go ahead and click this. We'll upgrade Captain America here. There we go. Now, the first one is frame break, and you can see his head is now outside of the card. The next one is 3D. I think after that, the text becomes animated, the border becomes animated. It gets better and better with each additional one. And you can see at my level, like it takes a lot to get to each one, but I got one thing here. If you look at a green card, so keep in mind we spent 25 credits for 1 level. If you look at a green card, you'll see you'll spend 100 credits and you'll only get 2 collection levels. So little tip and trick, if you want to upgrade a little bit faster, do your gray cards first. They'll get you more bang for the buck. I think boosters are a little bit more rare in terms of availability, at least when they were in the early beta. So a lot of the, when you first started playing, or earlier in the beta anyways, you had more boosters than you had credits, so you were credit constrained. I think it's the opposite now. I think you're booster constrained. So this tip might not be as applicable to you, at least as you're moving into the game today. But if you have the option, something to keep in mind. At the end of it all, I didn't upgrade a bunch of gray cards. Did it at the very last part of it when I got my last card. It only got me like 2 more things. Like it was like 2 more cases. It didn't make a big deal in big scheme of things. But if you're early in the game, maybe that little bump will be something to kind of get you over the hump. That said, one of the biggest questions is, can I do it free to play? Absolutely. Play your missions every day. They give you lots of currency, lots of gold. You'll actually be able to buy stuff in the shop, which is pretty cool. Another big question is, the Battle Pass worth it? My personal opinion, I think the Battle Pass is a fantastic deal. If you're going to spend money in the game and you go in the shop and you're thinking about buying credits or you're thinking about buying gold, the value for the Battle Pass far exceeds buying them straight out of the store. So if you want to spend a few bucks, you want to support Second Dinner in the game, it's absolutely worth the money. If you're going to spend, money is subjective in terms of what your value is, but if you are going to put money into the game, the Battle Pass by far is the best deal. So the Battle Pass, one thing to keep in mind with that or they call it the season pass, is there will be cards in this that will not be available in the collection level until after 2 months. So if you don't buy the battle pass, you won't be able to get, say, Miles Morales, which is this month's card. You won't be able to get that for 2 months. Their seasons generally run a month long. This first one for the release is going to be 5 weeks, but generally it's 4. So you'll have to wait 2 months to get that. So depends on the games you played in the past. I played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes for a long time. 2 months to get a character would have been fantastic. It's more like 4.5 months. 2 months to get a card may seem like an eternity to you. It's really kind of where you're at and how you feel in terms of waiting for your games and your rewards. But it's up to you, right? If you want to support the company, again, that's a bonus you get from getting these things, getting these cards early. But again, they will be in the collection caches as you move forward after the 2 month period. So eventually, in theory, you would be able to just pick these up once they're released into the wild again. So again, personal opinion, I think the battle pass, no brainer, fantastic money for the value, but I can see why people might not want them, and that's okay. One of the other things I think is really unique about the game is the notion of splitting, and that's something you'll probably hear about. When I first heard about splitting, I really had no idea what they were talking about. This maybe goes more in line with the upgrade thing we talked about. I kind of skipped ahead on you, but stick with me here. Splitting a card means that you're basically going to get a new version of it. So let me go into my collection. We'll sort it by name. Here we go. Is that by name? Yeah, it's by name. Okay, so Angela, for instance, is a card that I liked a lot. I played it in almost all my decks, so I got lots of upgrades. So in turn, we'll talk about this too, upgrades. So when you're playing a card a lot, you'll get more of the boosters for it, which means you can upgrade it more. A little tip, again, to slip you in there, if you want more credits for a card, don't upgrade it from gray or beyond green. You'll get more boosters. They lean toward giving boosters to cards that aren't upgraded for that same reason. If you have a new card, they want you to be able to upgrade it. So keep that in mind. If there's a card you really, really like, keep it at gray for a while, and you'll see the boosters kind of collect a little bit quicker. Otherwise, it's distributed across your entire deck. You'll still collect boosters. It's just a little bit slower. So in this case, I had actually upgraded an Angela. And let's talk about what that means in terms of splitting. So every time I get to this level, which is the highest level, I think it's called Infinite, you'll see this animated border. This will be an option to actually upgrade the card. Let's see if we can find when it's ready to do. Just real quick here, we'll turn off Angela. We'll sort by, there's a little trick to you can sort by quality and then use the up arrow. And so let's look for that little animated thing. I don't have any upgradable ones, so... Oh, well. So anyways, let's pretend we had enough of the currency to upgrade him. This button would be enabled, and what would happen is he would split. So going back to our example of Angela, so you can see there's different effects here. So when you get your original base card, once you get it to that top level, it will be this card. You'll click this, you'll split it, and you'll get a new effect. And that new effect can be a bunch of different things. It can be this hexagonal background. And again, this card will start over as gray, though. So you'll have to keep upgrading. And once you get to this top level again, where you have the animated border, the infinite level, when you split it, you'll get another variant. And so this could be maybe a rainbow background. You can see it's kind of got a dimpled thing. There are a couple rare ones today in game, and Angela's actually, I've got both of them. One is called Ink or Inkify. And so you can see it looks kind of like it has a shiny ink effect. This is after splitting it. And these only happen after 4 or 5, I think it is, times. You have to split a card 4 or 5 times to have access to these. But this is called Inkify. That's sort of a rare one. And then the gold background is another very, very rare one. So as it stands today, Inkify is a little bit more common than gold. But those, again, they only appear after you split the card 4 or 5 times. Now, one of the cool things is if you have another variant, like a different version of the card, so always have the same text on it. If you have, like, I have the second Angela, when I split this Angela card, I will have the ability to get Inkify or gold right out of the gate. So that's kind of cool. If you've updated all your, the different version of a card, splitting a newer variant or a different flavor of it, a different picture, basically, you'll have a shot at getting one of those cooler backgrounds. And I'm sure they'll be adding these as things go forward. But that's what splitting means, all right? So you get to the top level, you'll upgrade it, you'll get a copy of it that's gray with a new effect on the background. It doesn't really affect anything in terms of gameplay. It doesn't matter in the collection level outside of you'll get the points for the split. Meaning that it costs so much credits to do this upgrade. A split costs whatever that cost is, and it will give you so much collection level again. So something to keep in mind there, but that's a very cool thing about the game, and like everybody likes to collect different things there. So another thing about the collection level is it's divided into pools. So it doesn't really call this out during any of the initial tutorials, but the pools currently in the game are 1 through 3. I'll put a link down below for a site called Snapban. They actually have it where you can filter by the various pools. You'll find decks for each pool that you're in. You'll start in pool 1. You'll get a starter set, and you'll also get kind of a starter battle pass. It's free, and it comes with it. And that will unlock sort of your starter cards, some of the initial cards from pool 1. You'll move into pool 2, which will have a broader set. They usually have more effects, and they're a little bit more I guess fancier, if you will. And then pool 3 again is, another set of cards, and those are all kind of laid out in order. And again, you can look at that in the link down below. But the one thing to keep in mind is you can't currently target or get to a card in pool 3 without going through pool 1 and 2. Same with pool 2, you can't get to pool 2 cards until you finish pool 1. The team is, however, working on a system where you'll be able to target specific cards. So we don't know how it's going to work. We don't know if it will be locked to the pool you're in or if you'll be able to target future pools. But what they've said so far is it may be a thing where you can maybe lock a card that you really want, and then you'll have a higher chance of pulling that out of your collection caches as you move forward. As a note, they have said as well that as you collect cards, as your collection level increases, like for instance on collector reserves, after 8 or 9, you will always be guaranteed a card. And then beyond that, within the collection level itself, you'll also be guaranteed to get all your cards at various thresholds. They've not publicly announced what those are, but what we've seen so far for pool 1 through 3 to get all the pool 3 cards, somewhere around collection level 3,000. Some people get it about 200 below, some people get about 200 above. But that's roughly where you'll see people collecting all the pool 3 cards. So there is a pool 4 and 5 coming out. Those will be collected in a different way. There's been no information shared as of release, but just something to keep in mind. Don't get too upset if you get to a stretch where you're not getting cards. I know it's hard to do. You want to get a new card and play. It just means you'll have more luck future down the collection level picking up a bunch of cards to catch you back up. There is a mechanism there to protect you. There's no way to go forever and not get a card. So keep that in mind. If it feels like you're unlucky, it's okay. You'll be able to kind of make that up as you move down the collection ranks. Another thing that we talk about a little bit is the notion of the season. So the seasons go on for a month. As you go through, you'll be able to rank up the ladder and collect various rewards. One thing to keep in mind is at the end of the season, you will go back 30 levels. So right now I'm at level 51. That means I would go back to 41, 31, 21. I do my math, so I want to do it in my head. I would go back to level 21 as of today if the season ended. One thing to keep in mind, if I was at, say, 49, I would go all the way back to, let's see, it would be 39, 29, 19. I would go back to 10. Okay, it doesn't round up. So you lose a lot of levels toward the upper caps, but you don't lose as much when you make it over a threshold. So something to keep in mind. You can lose. You'll basically chop off whatever you did not get. It does not round up. So something to keep in mind. I hope they personally change that in the future. We'll see what happens. There's been suggestions and things like that as far as that goes. So we'll see what happens down the road. I think that's where I'm going to stop for today. There's lots more to learn about various cards and effects. I think I'm going to do a video next maybe on cards and how they interact with locations and maybe some tricks and techniques around various cards and what order to play them in to get the most bang for the buck. So we'll do a video on that soon. I hope you guys enjoy playing Marvel Snap. It's been a blast in the beta. Everybody who's been involved with it can't wait for it to get out to the world and have more people to play with. Join their Discord. There's lots of decks and there's lots of tips. You're going to run into weird things that happen. They're going to like very, very picky things on cards that you're not going to catch the first time through. That's okay. That's part of the fun, the unexpected and the things you learn as you go along the way. But if you go in that Snap Discord, the official one for sure has areas where you can post screenshots, ask questions. Why didn't this trigger? Why didn't I win this? Why didn't this happen the way I thought it was going to? I've posted about 3 or 4 of them. Every time it's been something I didn't understand about the game that made perfect sense once it actually got explained to me. And during the beta, we actually fixed quite a few of those. We helped the team figure out like maybe that wasn't worded as well as it could be, but over time, I think the game is in a great state for launch. I hope you guys have a blast playing it. I play on twitch.com, twitch.tv. I play on twitch.tv/StoneDonkey. I'm also on Twitter and StoneDonkey. My socials are down below. I hope to see you guys at the game. I hope to see you guys in game, and I wish you guys the best of luck. Happy snapping.